Ladies and gentlemen, it's another wonderful Tuesday here in Mount Shasta, bright, crispy, clear. Haven't seen any chemtrails for a while. Lots of positive activities taking place behind the scenes with our friends from Venus. And you're going to notice here the man in the picture behind your shoulder there, standing with the Queen in 1954, holding his wonderful Nimbus, which you're going to have to research by looking at the books Cosmic Rays Excellent Adventure. But there he is, the man himself, the man with the plan, Dr. Raymond Keller. How are you, Cos?
Oh, fine, Rob. Thank you for the invite.
It's my pleasure as always. I think Raymond and I are going to kind of, we're going to try and set up something, a regular thing where he's just going to go through his books one by one. And we're going to really do that this time. And we'll give him an hour or, maybe if I pop in a little bit, hour and a half. But I'm looking forward to this one, folks. This is a great book that Dr. Raymond Keller wrote with another UFO researcher named Fred Saluga in Pennsylvania. And Raymond contributed quite a bit of information in this, especially about a woman named Dorothy Martin. And, he's going to be sharing about her. She's a famous person here in Mount Shasta, known as Sister Thedra. So, Kaz, I'm going to let you take over here. I'm going to be watching from the sidelines. And if Raymond wants to, he's got partial PowerPoint on this, and maybe we can do a second half later. But he's going to be sharing the information about this wonderful book. I read through probably 80% of it. It's an incredible book about phenomenon in Pennsylvania. For me, the woman, Sister Thedra, as she was known in Mount Shasta, a very famous spiritual psychic who was looking into the future and was actually very much a part of the first contact of George Adamski in the desert with Lady Orda, the Queen of Venus, in 1952. So, Kos, why don't you take it away? Okay.
All right, Rob. Well, thank you very much. This is the book. It's called West Virginia Paranormal Gateway. Probably a lot of viewers out there don't know that I'm living in West Virginia. I'm in the Morgantown area, just 8 miles south of the Pennsylvania border. My friend Fred Saluga is the director of Western Pennsylvania Mutual UFO Network, as well as West Virginia Mutual UFO Network. And he has extensive files on the histories of both states. And we put our minds together to research aerial phenomena and other types of phenomena associated with vortex areas for the state of West Virginia, and hence West Virginia Paranormal Gateway. And you see the depiction on the cover, which is available through Rob at thepromiserevealed.net. You can order the book from him, or on Amazon if you wish. Now, one thing I have to say about this book is that it deals with ghosts, cryptids, UFOs, strange encounters with the unknown of various types, because it's John A. Keel who did a lot of research in West Virginia regarding the Woody Derenberger case, and also the Mothman and other creatures. He said that wherever there's intensive UFO activity, there's also going to be other types of encounters taking place, because these are areas where portals are open, and a lot is pouring through them into the earth plane, into the earth's material plane, besides beside UFOs. And so you'll really enjoy this book, and it's just come out this year, so to make a great Christmas present, not only for friends that you have who might have family or be associated with West Virginia, the Mountaineer State, but anybody that's interested in paranormal phenomena and paranormal activity of any kind. Let me just run through the table of contents so you know what's in the book. We have recurring Civil War ghosts. This is important because wars especially create such strong impressions on the space-time continuum that it creates an echoing effect that goes down through the ages. So this is State Park in West Virginia, where the largest Civil War battle took place in the confines of West Virginia, where people are always seeing Civil War action going on from this battle, including seeing and hearing cannon fire and all kinds of other activities associated with the Civil War. So all the details concerning that battle, the generals who fought in it, and so forth. So very, very interesting that is. Then there's an account that was in the Cincinnati commercial newspaper of the 18th of July, 1878, about mysterious phenomena being viewed by farmers in West Virginia, that of a flying horse, like a modern day Pegasus. This is the actual newspaper clipping from 1878, and all throughout central West Virginia and the western part of the state, a flying horse was actually sighted. And the book moves along in chronological order. The third chapter is about West Virginia's only sea serpent, sighted in the vicinity of Parkersburg, West Virginia, throughout the months of June and July of 1893. And here's a depiction in the newspapers as to what the sea serpent looked like here in West Virginia. So this was a sea serpent that was seen up and down the length of the Ohio River on the West Virginia side. And the chapter deals with a freakish creature off the coast of Nagel's Island. That's near Parkersburg, West Virginia. This is where most of the sightings of this strange creature took place. And the drawing was in the Cincinnati, Ohio Gazette of the 8th of February, 1880, depicting the strange phenomena seen in West Virginia. Then we also look at West Virginia's first UFO report, actual UFO report, going back to the 19th of April of 1897. 1897, folks. You might recall that that's the time when Jules Verne's books came out. He had the Robert the Conqueror series and the Mighty Airship, and you might remember the 1961 movie that they made out of it called Master of the World. There's a movie poster of the great airship. Pretty much how people described it back in 1897. And what's interesting is that these airship sightings that were taking place in West Virginia were just 2 days off before the great UFO crash in Aurora, Texas. And that was when a pilot was actually killed when a UFO came down and crashed into a water tower. And the pilot was buried there. So the connections between the Aurora encounter and the West Virginia airship are detailed in the book. Then of course, we've all heard of the Mothman, but earlier in the area, unbeknownst to most people, there were many sightings of what was called the Birdman. The Birdman was observed repeatedly in the Point Pleasant location where the Mothman sightings took place, going back to the early 1900s and the 1920s. Of course, the Mothman was made famous after the movie starring Richard Gere called The Mothman Prophecies that came out in 2002. That was a Screen Gems production, and you could probably stream that on home video. I don't think there's any more video stores to go rent the movie. But yeah, the connections between the modern day Mothman and the Birdman sightings of old in the Point Pleasant area. Now, as Rob said, the book also includes information about Sister Thedra. She was known as Dorothy Martin, and she was born here in West Virginia in Charleston, the state capital, back in 1902. And she became an associate with George Hunt Williamson and actually traveled with him to Peru.
Hey,
Yes.
hey, Kaz. One little digression before we to Dorothy Martin. In our private conversation, the story of the Mothman, I asked you, what do you think it was? And you had mentioned that there was a UFO crash, and you think that these sightings were possibly them trying to keep people away from the ship that had been downed.
Oh, yes. That was, I was referring to the Flatwoods incident in 1952. There
Was that a different Mothman?
Yeah, the Flatwoods was different. The Flatwoods monster. Yeah, that's in a different part of the state, and it's in like central West Virginia,
Okay.
near Sutton.
Okay, I'll let you carry
And
on.
yeah, the Mothman was more on the western side, near across the Ohio River in Point Pleasant.
Were they similar descriptions?
Um, mm, Not really, other than that the Flatwoods monster could levitate, but he had a big bulbous head, kind of like a big giant floating light bulb.
Yeah. See,
Yeah, I've covered his story extensively in book number 6, where I have the files from APRO from Dr. Leo Sprinkle with actual drawings and original drawings and investigations done back then by the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, Coral and Jim Lorenzen and Gray Barker.
right. Well, Cause dropped a lot of luminaries in the names there, so people and Leo Sprinkle, some people may recognize was a government cover-up who quickly found out it was real and did not want to cover up. And Raymond was pretty close to him back in the day. Do you think that those two were related, Cause?
Oh yes, I think all of these encounters and are related in one way or another. As I tried to explain many times about the multidimensionality of worlds, that we exist in more than the world that we can just experience with our 5 senses, that there are worlds beyond, other dimensions, and
Right.
that every once in a while a portal opens up and we can cross dimensional barriers. In fact, a couple days ago, I had a very significant dream because it was in vivid color, in living color, without the peacock, of course, the NBC peacock. But it was a dream about Mount Shasta.
Oh,
And
okay.
I was driving along, as I usually do when I'm coming up there to Mount Shasta for summer conference. And I was just above Susanville, oh, maybe about 15 miles where you could start to see the mountains to the north, Mount Lassen and Mount Shasta, and getting into that area. And all of a sudden, like my car around, this is in my dream, my car around me dissolved. And I was still moving, but floating, and all the scenery changed. I could still see the mountains, and but the sky had changed to a translucent color, and there were all these luminescent green orbs that were coming to and from north to south, the same direction I was on. Uh, I think it's 89,
Okay.
and even the road had disappeared, but all these green orbs, shining orbs, with a green shiny substance swirling around inside of them, were going back and forth to this beautiful city. It was, like in the national anthem, this alabaster city's gleam undimmed by human tears. This was a perfect city, uh, where Mount Shasta would be. It was super high skyscrapers, and it was just beautiful beyond imagination. And I was heading toward it, and then I thought to myself, well, Talos is supposed to be underground. And then, like, a voice told me that this wasn't in our time frame. This is in the year 8921. That's what the voice told me in my in in my
Wow.
in my dream.
That's
And
good.
so the Earth, Mount Shasta had become a celestial link, um, with the rest of the galaxy. It was all built up. It was like a higher dimensional Venus. It was higher than anything on Earth or in the solar system to date. It was really fantastic.
Wow. So that's probably a fifth dimensional Earth at that point. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because it was outside of our space and time dimension. So I was probably looking at a parallel Earth for the future, the future of our world, what we can come to expect.
Well, I
So
sorry.
this means that Telos wasn't anymore, because there was an integration of not only Venusian and Lemurian civilization with the whatever Earth civilization was there, but also with galactic civilization. So the Earth had become a celestial sphere. It was just really awesome. But this is the kind of thing that Dorothy Martin was looking at, including the end of the world. It pretty much parallels what Lady Columba wrote about. Not the end of the physical world, but the end of the world as we know it.
Yeah, that's very good. I didn't mean to distract you too much. I will let you get back to Dorothy Martin.
Oh, well, go ahead with your question about Dorothy.
Um, well, I didn't have a question about Dorothy. I wanted to. I was asking the question, like, about the Mothman, if they were the same and all that stuff. So, um, anyway, Dorothy, we've talked about her before. Folks, I had seen some of these articles here. She was a quite a psychic spiritual medium, not recognized in her time. Of course, she was hounded and considered a fraudster, and you know I guess I don't have much to complain about with people just calling me a fake, but compared to what she's been through. So, um, but for those who research, they're going to find a lot of wisdom here. By the way, folks, let me share a screen real quick. I think it's important that I just go ahead and I want to let's pop this up here, and I'm just going to do a quick little infomercial for you with Raymond Keller here. So we're going to see here. I'm going to just pull up the conference real quick here. So, folks, in Mount Shasta, this is my website, thepromiserevealed.net. I'm having this conference in the summer. All you have to do is scan this or take a quick click here. You're going to go to the information page. I just finished some videos on the location, how to get there. We're in a beautiful area surrounded by national forest, and we have all these speakers. Actually, Vivian Chavez' son, and actually her son-in-law, I guess, or her adopted, or I think it's her husband's son is going to be graduating from an aerospace school. So Vivian Chavez won't make it this year. We have Laura Eisenhower, Haruko, Raymond, Brad Olson, and there's a couple others we're working on this year. And we'll probably have a few of the other regulars coming up. So it's going very slow. So I also want to show you the books real quick here, if we can get there. But Raymond's got all of his books under my shop product here. If you go to the books, here's click on one of these here. You go to the books, and you get to Raymond Keller. I'm not going to devolve too much here into the infomercial, but we have a special for the conference this year. It's a very good deal. 5 days camping and 4 days of an event for $400. It's really a good deal. The prices are going to go up when those 25 tickets are sold, and I think we've sold about 8 so far. So Kaz, let's get back to the wonderful paranormal here. You just go as long as you want today. I may pop in and out, but you continue with your wonderful presentation, folks. And Raymond always has incredible research. And once again, we have specials on his books. You can also find his books on Amazon. But if you want to get some good deals like 3, 6, or all 9 books, you can get those on my website. So look under the book section, and you'll find a lot of amazing spiritual, metaphysical information, not only about Venus, but about other dimensionality. So, Kaz, thank you so much. I'll let you carry it away.
Okay. Somehow, oh, there we go. Yeah, for a minute there, I lost I lost the picture. I got it back though. But as I was saying, Dorothy Martin's originally from Charleston, West Virginia. She graduated there in 1918 from high school, and she stayed in West Virginia, but she made good use of her time. She became an avid student of the Bible, as well as the Oafse, which was recorded 1881 channelings of John Below Newbro. And it depicts a richly populated spiritual cosmos whose inhabitants included guardian angels known as Ashars. And so she studied the Oafse, and she became a member of the Theosophical Society. Well, in the sometime between the end of the Great Depression and the end of World War II, she had moved to Chicago, Illinois, in the Oak Park district. And there she had a horrible automobile accident a few miles outside of her home. And as a result of the accident, she was required to be in a plaster cast for almost 2 years. So during that time, she intensified her study of metaphysical subjects, especially having to do with the appearance of flying saucers and their mysterious occupants. So she became familiar with Adamski. Adamski was publishing articles on his subject as early as 1948 in Fate magazine. I have a copy of that, an original one. And also Dr. George Hunt Williamson, who is writing for a magazine in Indiana about spiritual subjects. So she became Noblesville, Indiana. So she became familiar with these two. And while she was in bed, laid up like that, Jesus himself appeared to her, and the account is in this book. So I'll just read that small section because it is very, very interesting. No sooner had Dorothy Martin uttered her innermost desire to shed her material body and depart for celestial glory than the form of Jesus the Christ materialized directly in front of her. Jesus told me that he would heal me, that I would be restored to my former self. In turn, I asked what I could do for him, to which he replied, "You can feed my sheep." Martin replied, "I don't know if I am worthy of such a task, nor do I know if I have it in me to do such a job." Then Jesus responded, "You go and I'll give you the food." The New Age prophetess understood that by food, the Savior meant that he would provide the requisite information that she needed to fulfill her calling and spread the word of the Lord to those who would take her preaching to heart. So Jesus didn't leave her bereft. And then she received countless downloads of celestial information. Some delivered it physically by flying saucers. That's her own handwriting and a description of a flying saucer uh, with the three condensers that came right down outside of her apartment in Oak Park. And these extraterrestrial beings from higher dimensions came and gave her all this information and revelations about the future of the world. So I classified all the revelations by the date that they were given, and then I give them titles. So it's very easy to read and who they were given by. And she also had a group that met in her home and so forth. And it's very interesting. The end of her life, she moved to Mount Shasta, and she explored the presence of flying saucers there. And this is a picture that she found from even the prior century of a mothership hovering over Mount Shasta. And it's very interesting. Let me read that. Residents of Mount Shasta, including Frederick Spencer Oliver, wrote A Dweller on Two Planets in 1894. It was published by his mother in 1905, and in this drawing from the book, it purports to show a carrier ship from Venus visiting Mount Shasta. According to Sister Thedra, such Venusian spaceships camouflage themselves inside the large lenticular clouds that are frequently reported as suspended above the Magic Mountain. What's interesting about that is that Fox News did a story about the appearance of just such an object right before the Mount Shasta Meet the Venusians conference in 2018, I believe, when Omnek was there, and so this is documented, and Sister Thedra wrote about this extensively and took hundreds of photographs of Venusian spaceships and other extraterrestrial ships that were camouflaged as clouds. And I remember in 1987 seeing such a book, and I had the opportunity of talking to a woman at Mount Shasta that Reverend Clayton Parker led me to like do a reading, and I think it was Sister Thedra, but I don't recall if because I just don't recall now her name, but yeah, she was living in Mount Shasta at that time. So she ran into trouble with the state of Illinois, and that's when she had to flee. And she left the state and went with Dr. George Hunt Williamson to Peru, to the Temple of the Seven Rays, and met with many ascended masters in her own right. So she is a woman who is neglected, really, as being one of the original and most powerful of the contactees, just like Lady Columba. So I'm very privileged to have the opportunity to bring her information to light, as well as the information from Columba Krebs, i.e. Lady Columba, in the Lady Columba Venus Revelation book, which is book number 5 in the Venus Rising series. And that one's also available on an audio tape. So yeah, check out Paranormal Gateway, West Virginia, and you could read all about Dorothy Martin with many original photographs and so forth. That's her at her home in Mount Shasta, right there. And the 7th chapter is how ufology took hold in West Virginia, the study of unidentified flying objects. And it began in the Parkersburg area with an amateur astronomy club. And the various members there contacting astronomers and asking them their opinion about the evolution of life on other planets and what life on other planets would be like, particularly on Mars, and then how this caught the attention of Gray Barker and others in the state, who became very prominent in UFO research circles later on. Chapter 8 deals with the case of the alien vampires. These were some scary beings that came down in a flying saucer and essentially hijacked a bloodmobile. Very strange story there. And then the Veggie Tales, part 1 in chapter 9. See a being like was apparently made out of vegetable matter. And this was Tim Morris's conception of the eerie head of the vegetable man as depicted by cryptozoologist Carl Schocker about numerous sightings across the state of the vegetable man. Another drawing there. And what's interesting about that is I think that they got the idea in the movie The Thing for a vegetable man that evolved in the vegetable kingdom rather than the mammalian or reptilian stream of evolution from that movie The Thing, where the flying saucer crashed in the North Pole, and it was called Thing from Another World, and it wreaked havoc on a U.S. military polar outpost. That was RKO Radio Pictures in the 1950s. And then, of course, Gray Barker became a legend, and during the early days of the 1960s, he became especially well known, and I was one of the people that he worked with. This is from the Gray Barker files. This is me in the National Enquirer here, and publishing the Flying Saucer Report. So we traded publications and information with the famous Gray Barker back in the 1960s. So I have a little bit of connection there to the beginnings of ufology in the state of West Virginia. That's Gray Barker right there in his younger days. He ran a movie theater in Clarksburg, and before that, he was a school teacher in Maryland. And even further back, in the very beginnings of ufology, he was a member of the International Flying Saucer Bureau with Albert K. Bender and was one of the editors of the Space Review. And then another prominent ufologist was John A. Keel. So chapter 12 tells all about John A. Keel. He explores the connections between other paranormal phenomena and UFOs, and especially the contactee phenomena. And he said that surprisingly, most of the contactees are from two communities, the Gypsies and Native Americans. And he thinks that there's some connection with the blood and the DNA that makes those two groups particularly susceptible to contact by extraterrestrials. So that's all explored, the Native American connection in West Virginia, Paranormal Gateway. And look at the humanoid monster in Oceana, West Virginia. And it turned out that it was actually it could have, well, I should say it could have been a Goliath heron, because these particular herons, sometimes they migrate up from Florida, and they can be as tall as 7 feet. So a West Virginia State Department of Natural Resources spokesman said that Patrolman Bill Pratt of Oceana, West Virginia, probably mistook a Goliath heron for a 7-foot a humanoid monster. And that story is in the book as well. Then we look at the famous Blue Devil. And it was, here's a scene from in West Virginia back in 1897, where sheep rancher Jacob Hamrick of Whitaker Falls in Randolph County rounded up his neighbor and hunted down the last known gray wolf in the state. And that was believed to have been actually the origin of the Blue Devil legend of West Virginia. Then there's the Tales of the Rabbit Man on St. Patrick's Day in 1990 in Clarksburg, West Virginia. The Exponent Telegram newspaper ran an unusual story about a man-sized rabbit, white rabbit, and in the previous few weeks was keeping the residents of Walton, West Virginia, and Roane County Sheriff's Department quite busy and hopping mad. Pardon the pun, hopping mad. So people were scared out of their wits by this giant rabbit. Then Cacapon Ridge, West Virginia, turkey hunters encountered 2 Bigfoots, a male and a female. This is a father and a son were out there, and they encountered a male and a female Bigfoot. And here's what the conceptual drawing by Morton Kunstler of Crypto Mundo of what a female Bigfoot would look like. And Fred Saluga's gone around different parts of the state of West Virginia and Pennsylvania discussing Bigfoot cases and their possible connection to extraterrestrial or ultra-dimensional beings, because in areas where there's a lot of UFO sightings, there's also a lot of Bigfoot sightings. And some ufologists have speculated that the Bigfoot might be a Wookiee-like, Star Wars-like Wookiee creature from the Arcturan, one of the planets in the Arcturan star system. And then had 4 National Guard AC-130 aircraft that were scrambled in pursuit of a flying saucer on the 11th of March in 1997. And in Christmas of 2014, a UFO was sighted over Huntington, West Virginia. And so that was a little Christmas present. I want to believe in UFOs and Santa Claus. So this will make a nice book for Christmas. And then in the appendix, we look at the UAP revelations in Congress. And of course, when Rob and I went to Las Vegas recently for the Stairway to the Stars on the 9th through the 12th of November, Rob was on an important panel where he discussed the importance of personal disclosure and personal revelation over waiting for the government to fully come clean about the issue, because it just might take forever and a day for that uh, to happen. But our own personal experiences with flying saucers and extraterrestrial really is all we need. And according to a Gallup poll that was taken in 2021, at the beginning of the UAP disclosures in the summer of that year, 15 million Americans claim to have actual experiences with ultradimensional or extraterrestrial beings, some level of contact of one kind or another. So this is very significant. The personal disclosure certainly trumps the long-awaited full public disclosure, which still really hasn't come, because while they admit that UFOs or UAPs are real physical objects, they've never really said anything about them being extraterrestrial or ultradimensional. So that includes my report for my amazing book, West Virginia Paranormal Gateway, with Fred Saluga from the Mutual UFO Network. And I hope you will check it out on thepromiserevealed.net or on amazon.com. And thank you so much for your time and watching this program.
Hey, well, thank you so much, Dr. Raymond Keller. That was a beautiful presentation. And folks, we'll have more coming from Raymond next week. And I'm doing a show with Faust Checo, a gentleman, next week as well on YouTube. And his website is Far Out with Faust. I think he'll be coming to the conference. We've had some good chats. So we're getting the information out there. And again, I hope you'll check in on my website, thepromiserevealed.net. Check out Raymond Keller's books. Let's support this wonderful author, and come to my conference if you want this summer. And we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Till next time. Thank you. Bye.